Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here and I am back for another kind of a monthly channel update and kind of a random topic video per the usual. Try to do these at least once a month or so, give or take, unless there's a lot of other crazy stuff happening like major events or happenings or accessibility news or something really cool that I want to cover. But this is kind of the November 2020 edition of this type of video. Lots to go through here right now, so we'll just get started. And on the screen right now, we're just kind of looking at my YouTube channel page while I chat with you guys for a bit. Thank you to everyone who has been following me and watching the videos on the channel for some time, and to all the new subscribers, new viewers, thank you very much for your support. I do upload videos or unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Mondays are reserved mostly for Mixer and Twitch stream archives. I've got a few more Mixer archives that have to be unlocked as of yet, but since Mixer is gone, I have been streaming on Twitch for the past few months, and that's going pretty well. I've already put some of those up, and there's definitely more of those to come. So if you missed me live, which I usually stream on weekends, you'll see those archives on Mondays. Wednesday and Saturdays are the regular kind of smorgasbord, whatever, variety of videos that I typically cover on the channel. And those can be anything from assistive technology, mainstream games, audio games, VR, virtual reality accessibility, game accessibility, hardware reviews, any number of things. Just go definitely check out the playlist, the playlists area of the channel, and you'll find all kinds of videos. A few Let's Plays here and there, but not too many. So there's a lot of content regularly coming, and it's been a really busy time for me and for the channel, and it's definitely not going to be slowing down, as I'll talk about here shortly. So yeah, again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and is watching. And yeah, like I said, you can also follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited. I usually go live there Saturday evenings, sometimes Friday evenings. Just depends on when I'm available during the weekends. But I'm trying to maintain at least a fairly steady once per weekend, sometimes a little more often, stream schedule, just so people can kind of get used to that. So feel free to stop in and say hi there as well. Few highlights on the channel. If you did miss it earlier this summer, I do have my kind of featured video is the game accessibility presentation I gave to the Independent Game Developers Association this summer, IGDA. That was a really fun presentation. I do have some accessible game videos out and coming out. I've got a couple more recorded that I will unlock for you guys in the near future. But I did another video for the Dusklight, A Detective's Demise game that came out fairly recently. Take a look at that. I do have also some videos for a couple of Ubisoft games. And again, I want to thank Ubisoft for reaching out to me and providing me review copies of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion. I did receive review copies of those games a little bit ahead of time, so I was able to check out some of their accessibility features they've been adding and be able to cover those accessibility features and the games themselves on the channel. So again, in all of those videos, I also do give you guys a disclaimer. Anytime I receive a copy of a game or a piece of hardware or whatever it might happen to be, which is, not that often, I will let you know about that, just as a disclaimer saying, hey, I did receive this for whatever reason. Even though I do receive occasional products, I will definitely still give you guys my honest thoughts, opinions, and reviews on games, software, hardware, whatever it might happen to be. So yeah, definitely check those out because Ubisoft is definitely making some great progress in the area of low vision and blind accessibility. I wouldn't call either game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Watch Dogs Legion, totally blind accessible right now, but I would venture to guess within the next couple of years, we probably might see one of their big open world games totally playable to blind players, which is really cool because I can't even imagine how much work and planning and testing and all kinds of development has to happen for that to work. I mean, this is not easy. That's adding a whole other layer of complexity and audio cues and maybe haptic cues and just navigation assistance and all kinds of stuff that the average sighted player does not have to worry about. So, I know it's hard. You hear, oh, all these games are getting improved accessibility features for mobility and hearing and low vision, but blind players, not so much. Yeah, it's totally frustrating. But they are getting there. We're getting better text-to-speech throughout some of these games. We're getting, menu narration. We're getting some navigational cues, some more audio cues. So they just basically have to keep building on that. And I think, like I said, within the next couple of years, I think that will be a thing. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what that future is going to look like. Speaking of one other video highlight, I thought this one would have actually gotten a few more views than it did. If you did miss it, check out my review, my video for the Vision Buddy low vision VR headset. This is, like if I go to uploads here, Vision Buddy VR headset. Yeah, it's here somewhere. A lot of videos. Okay, yeah. But so Vision Buddy, it's a really kind of cool device. Okay, right there. Yep. The Vision Buddy, it's a standalone headset. It's a hands-free magnification headset. So think of it, like an Oculus Quest sort of a thing. But its primary purpose is for using it as like a hands-free head-mounted CCTV. And when paired with its little transmitter, you can use it with an HDMI video source and have that on a virtual big screen within the headset and also zoom in and out with that. And the nice thing about having the direct feed HDMI into the transmitter is that you're not indirectly looking at the screen. Like you're not looking through one camera to your TV, to your monitor, what have you. Instead, you're getting a clear direct feed image. There are a few, it's a great version 1. I think there still are a few areas where they could definitely improve the device, both in hardware and software. But like I said, for a version 1, it's actually quite good, and I'm very curious, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this product goes in the future. Personally, for myself, like I said, this device was also provided to me. Vision Buddy reached out to me a month or two ago and asked if I'd be interested in looking at it, trying it out, seeing what I thought about it, doing a review, and letting them know what I thought of it. And I talked to them. I said, sure, okay, I'll take a look at it. And so, yeah, I did receive a review copy or a review unit of it, but I will be giving it back here shortly. Before I would consider buying one for myself, I'm kind of waiting for like a version 2, maybe an upgraded version of the transmitter. There's a few other things that I would really like it to be able to handle a little bit better before it would be something that I would really consider for the way that I would use the device. Specifically, using more interactive content, like viewing a computer through the HDMI port, or let's say a game console, something like that. It would be cool, but there's just way too much latency for that to be practical at the moment. So definitely check those videos out if you haven't already. Like I said, there's tons of low vision reviews. There's tons of, there's a few hardware reviews. There's a lot more of those coming up. If you're into the classic first-person shooters, trust me, there's going to be a lot more of that stuff coming as well, because we are in a renaissance, people. There are so many classic first-person shooters. I backed a Kickstarter project not too long ago, E1M1 magazine. There actually is getting to be so many, and people are enthused about it to where, oh yeah, we'll do a Kickstarter, and it is a print and virtual magazine on the sort of retro shooters that are kind of making a comeback. And I've learned about, just within the last couple of days, I think I bought one or two of them. I added another half dozen to my Steam wish list, and there's a couple on itch.io that I haven't even looked at. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff coming out all the time, which I'm totally okay with, because I love some of these classic style shooters. You know, to me, it beats the Call of Duty more militaristic shooters, and typically they're not gonna weigh in at like 200 gigs a pop. That's a plus, right? But yeah, so there's definitely going to be some of that. I even created a separate playlist. There'll be the low vision spotlight videos or the early access videos, but if you want to see all of those, I did create a retro shooter or retro FPS playlist for you guys to check out if you're interested in that kind of content. Some upcoming stuff. I just created a new playlist because turns out I got to do a little bit more testing. Earlier this year, this summer, I forget exactly when it was, late spring, early summer, I did a video on Google Stadia, and I was a subscriber of that for a little while. Technologically, it's really pretty cool. It generally worked pretty well on the internet connection that I have, and this is a game streaming service. Instead of downloading the whole game or, playing from a disc, you're streaming it just like you would Netflix or YouTube or whatever video streaming service or music streaming service. Technology-wise, it works great, but just the way that Google's supporting it and the purchase model of games, like you subscribe, you get a couple of free games as a premium subscriber, but you pretty much have to buy the games in order to keep them for the most part. And as far as, I'm not thoroughly convinced that Google's gonna, they could just get tired of Stadia and go, yeah, that was a nice try, but we're not gonna worry about that for a little while. So I really have a tough time supporting it. That being said, they did have a deal I retweeted earlier this week where you can get I forget what the requirements were. Like, you had to be a subscriber, or you had to have. There was a requirement for getting in, which I did meet. You can. Oh, I think you have to be a YouTube Premium subscriber before a certain date. I think that's what it was. But if you were, you could basically get this ultimate, this Stadia Premium kit where you get a Chromecast and a Stadia controller, basically this $99 value for free. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'll get their special controller. I'll get another Chromecast. I think I have an older one somewhere, hooked up somewhere. So I might be checking those out. And it's not the newest Chromecast because that one does not quite support Stadia for whatever weird reason. That one isn't going to do that until sometime early-ish next year. But, get a free Chromecast, get their Stadia controller, which does connect directly via the internet to their service rather than going through your computer, and I'm curious to see how that works. So I may be doing like a hardware review on that type of setup. I also got an invite today. This is an invite-only service at the moment, and Amazon themselves have their own competitor to Stadia that they announced not terribly long ago. And I do have that up on the screen here as well. It is called Luna. And this is their alternative to Stadia. It is a streaming service. Right now, I got an invite to it. I got a... So I signed up for a 7-day trial, and then I want to say it's like $5-6 a month. Now, what I like about Amazon is that they seem to be going more with like an Xbox Game Pass style of approach, where you pay this monthly fee, and then whatever games they have on their service, you can just stream. You don't have to pay for a subscription and then also pay full price for a game in order to play it, which that was one of the main issues that I had with Stadia is, yeah, you got your free premium games. You got a few of those. And I had a couple of those when I was a premium member. I'm not anymore. But I think if I were to resubscribe again, those would come back and then I could still play them. That being said, I kind of like their model better. And I kind of have a funny feeling that at least I think Amazon might be a little bit better about supporting their Luna service a little bit better, because it really has this Amazon Instant Video feel to it. You can use it through a Chrome web browser, and it has a Windows 10 app as well. So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about that here. And then they did give me also a discount, an early bird discount, since I got an early invite to their Luna controller. Again, similar to the Stadia controller, it can connect to the Luna service directly through the internet. So it's supposed to cut down on latency. I don't know to what degree it'll do that, but we're going to find out, because I'm going to do probably a couple of videos devoted to Luna. I'm going to show you guys the service, what I think of it, how well it works, some accessibility stuff, and then I'll probably do a hardware review for the Luna controller. I'm supposed to get it probably toward the end of the week or so. So yeah, a couple of streaming services I have to kind of check in on again. So we're going to have, again, I created a game streaming playlist because this is becoming a more relevant thing in gaming. You know, we also have things like the xCloud, which I have not really looked at in some capacity. We have GeForce Now, which I have not tried. I don't even know if it's supported on my card. I don't know if you have to have a 10 series card or later. I have the 980, so I'm not sure if or to what degree, or I got to look into how GeForce Now works a little bit better. But at some point, I'm probably going to have a look at some of these services, you know, just to compare them, see how they differ games-wise, feature-wise, accessibility, all of those types of things. So we are going to be taking a look at some of that stuff. We definitely have a lot more games coming. Like I said, there's been some games that I've been trying that were some Sony PS5 exclusives, but they've also come to PC. Things like Bug Snacks. I've really been kind of charmed by that one. I've really been kind of hooked on that one the last few days, and I kind of want to get back into that again. I'm not able to run it super well because my system barely meets the minimum system requirements, and I'm running it at a low, pretty much 720p resolution, which is fine. But things like Godfall, I am kind of curious about that game, and I've played a couple hours of it, and it's been getting average to not great reviews. And I don't really quite understand the hate and negativity that it's receiving. Could it get a little repetitive over time? Sure. But any sort of looter shooter, or as they call this one, a looter slasher, anything like that could be repetitive after a while. But this is a looter slasher, as they call it. Basically, you get all kinds of loot. You're running around these environments. You're slashing guys. You're fighting bosses. And even at 720p, when I ran the game for the first time, it just set everything to epic quality, but cranked our way down to 720p. And yeah, there are hiccups from time to time, and I'm definitely going to want to play this when I finally get a computer upgraded. However, even what I have, it looks pretty darn good for how it's running now. And despite some of its loading issues and frame rate issues, just for being on older hardware. So yeah, we have more of those types of games to cover. We have some hardware reviews. We've got some accessible games coming up. A lot of stuff there. So yeah, a lot to look forward to there. And at some point within the next month and a half or so, I'm going to have to also start figuring out what sort of end of year video I want to do. Because, usually I try to do sort of a year in review, or not really game of the year type of thing, but just sort of talk about what I thought of the year as it regards to assistive technology, game accessibility, games in general, and whatever else happens to come up throughout that year. I've been doing those for the last several years, and I will continue to do so this year. And, just like everything else, 2020 has been nothing but surprising, because some of the games that I originally thought that, January, I'm thinking, Doom Eternal is that's going to be the game for me. As much as I love Doom, as much as I love shooters, and, I just thought, Doom Eternal, that's going to be, boom, that's going to be my game. I liked it. There were things I really liked about it. There were things like I loved some of the combat. Did not care for and had trouble with some of the platforming, or kind of pathfinding, figuring out where I was supposed to go sometimes. And of course, other stuff in my personal life kind of happened around there. Those who've been following the channel for a while know what happened around that time. So that really didn't help either, because we were both looking forward to the game, and then, yeah, that happened. So, I haven't even played the expansion. I own it, but I haven't even played it because I haven't finished the main game quite yet. I've gotten almost to the last level, but I haven't quite finished the original Doom Eternal. And this other one is supposed to be even harder. More of those damn Marauders, which, whoa, God, those things are... I really got to learn to fight them better, because I have a lot of trouble with those right now. But yeah, that was a game I thought would be really high up on my year list. And I don't, my favorites of the year. And I don't know that it's really going to make it very high. Kind of sad. But in a way, it's kind of cool, because it just means that there's been that many other games out there that have really surprised me and caught my attention. So it'll be an interesting type of video to make later this year, next month. So that is kind of a channel update. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. There are a couple other projects that I'm working on that I don't know if I can tell you about yet, so I'm not really going to say anything, but I do have a couple of other potentially cool announcements and projects that I am working on in, around the game accessibility area. So some of them I might be able to hopefully tell you within the next month or so, and then others maybe sometime next year. So I'm keeping very, very busy in addition to my day job. So that's, sort of what I've been up to. I do want to talk a little bit about the console launches, because that is a thing that just happened within the last week. Xbox Series X and Series S have come out, as did the PS5, PlayStation 5. And as I said in last month's video, I was thinking, I'm not really interested in getting either PS5 or Xbox at launch, because there's not really a whole lot of games coming out that I really have to have, and it's going to be hard to get them anyway. It's going to be hard to get these machines anyway, which, God, that's the honest truth. The main thing that I've learned this fall is, and one of my major frustrations with the tech world right now is that there has got to be a change in the way retailers and manufacturers handle product releases and pre-orders, because it has just been an absolute clusterfuck. It has been awful no matter what you wanted to order. If you wanted to order a PS5, an Xbox Series X or S, a new video card. I don't know really about the new Apple stuff because I didn't do any of that this year. But if you wanted some of the Nintendo stuff, maybe you wanted to get the Mario Kart Live home circuit, which I do, even as a collector's item. Can't find that anywhere. Barely got one of those Game & Watch things from Nintendo. I did manage to get one of those ordered. It should be here by around the 1st of December. So, I'm a video game geek, video game fan, so I wanted to get a couple of those things as just like a collector's item sort of a deal, and they were just cool. But like anything major, you can't find. It seems like really the only two groups of people that can actually buy any technology at launch are scalpers and the people that were given them like press, or you get one because you're covering it for review, you get one because you're a tech website, or because you're covering, I don't know, accessibility or whatever it is. The only two people that have gotten consoles or video cards or anything like that, I think, are the press and scalpers. Any common Joe Blow that wants technology when it first comes out, good luck, because guess what? You're not getting it. Now, granted, I know the pandemic has something to do with that. I'm sure their supply chains have been in a little bit of a mess due to everything, and I get that. But honestly, like I said, retailers really need to be doing something different. Just have it a pre-order for everyone, and before you choose to buy it, before you click that checkout or add to order, or place order button, let me know, you are 782nd in the queue, so you have this many people before you're going to get your order shipped. And then you can go to your order history, and then you can see, now I'm down to 318. There's just got to be a way, because, you shouldn't, I really didn't, but if you really want these things, you had to play the whole sit in front of your computer and like have a bunch of websites open and frantically refresh the page and only not to still get one. And then you see all these instantly going up on eBay and Amazon and these third-party things where it's like, now you can buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox for $1,500. You can buy the Mario Kart thing for $300 instead of $99. Sure, or not. The video card's just as bad. The RTX 3080 and things like that. It's just a mess. And it's kind of been that way for a few years at the very least. Any kind of new technology, it's just going to be a crapshoot. So that's something that really is kind of my pet peeve. There's got to be a couple of different ways. But the problem is, again, retailers have no incentive to change, because they don't care who gets it, if it's a scalper, if it's an end user, whatever, because either way, they get their cut. Auction sites are really happy because anything that they get to sell, they get a percentage of that price. So, hey, if I can sell a console for $1,500, $2,000 instead of the $400 or $500, well, I'm going to get a percentage of a much higher number. So, hey, why am I disincentivized to do that? So, I don't know. Really, I think it comes down to the actual manufacturers to put their foot down and say, hey, we have to put something in place. Either you got to do that sort of a queue thing that I just talked about, or maybe you have to associate your account with, let's say, Sony or Nvidia or Apple or something to be like, hey, I'm an actual user. I am not a spam bot. Maybe you're given almost like a two-factor authentication thing to say, oh, you want to pre-order, you're a real person. When you check out, you have to put in this one-time code that we give you that's only valid for like a half an hour after you request this code. Sort of like how you do two-factor authentication. So all I'm saying is there's got to be a better way, because for the average consumer, it is just awful. I know I kind of went off on a side rant there, but what I was eventually getting to is things have kind of changed for me with the new consoles. And I'm still like, I still wouldn't argue if somebody sent me an Xbox. I would totally play it and review it and whatever. But I don't see the immediate need to rush out and try to buy one, because I have a PC. I'm going to be upgrading my PC. There's going to be a lot of things that are cross-platform on Xbox and PC, so I should be pretty much fine. Now, the PlayStation 5, I am actually more interested, and there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, and this is where that game accessibility conference that Steve Saylor gave earlier this year really comes into play. We learned right before launch, it wasn't very long before PS5 launch, that we started hearing reports and news and official announcements saying, hey, Sony has actually improved their console accessibility quite a bit from the PS4. If you remember, I did a video fairly recently on the PS4 accessibility around the time that The Last of Us 2 was out, because a lot of people were interested in playing that game. And I wanted to show that yes, while the PS4 had some text-to-speech in it, I wouldn't really call it a screen reader, because there was a lot of menus that it did not read. You go in, you have the main menu reading, and then you go into any sort of sub-menu, and a good chance you're not, text-to-speech will be disabled for that area. The PlayStation 5, however, is quite good. I've heard some videos, I've heard some audio, I've read a few articles on it, and they're really seeming to be catching up to Microsoft. You can turn it on, and if you wait, I forget what the time frame is, it's like 30 seconds or a couple minutes, kind of just like an Apple device, it will eventually prompt you. If you leave it there, it'll prompt you and say, hey, if you need text-to-speech, do this. You have a full like a full screen reader on the dashboard. You can use the store. You can manage your storage. You can download and launch games, adjust settings, stuff you really couldn't do independently with speech on the PS4. So that makes me very, very much more interested in the PlayStation 5, especially when the PS4 games, all of them that I own, are backwards compatible on the PS5. So, hey, why wouldn't I just want to play them there? I can move those forward and play them on the PlayStation 5, and I have a full screen reader to boot. On top of that, I'm very intrigued about the DualSense controller. Sounds like they've really done some amazing things with like the haptic feedback and just all kinds of different stuff with the controller that I'm very interested in checking out. And it has a lot of accessibility potential. I can only imagine what Naughty Dog already is thinking about doing to add haptic feedback to their next game, let alone any other developer. And then a couple of the games that are launch titles. Granted, I got a couple of them on PC, so I'm already good. But Spider-Man Miles Morales, I'm very interested in playing that game. And compared to the PlayStation 4 title that came out a couple years ago, they've added more accessibility. Insomniac has added more accessibility settings that I think will be very helpful as a low vision user to make that game a lot more playable and a lot less frustrating for me. And if you buy the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales, you also get a remastered version of the Spider-Man game that came out a couple of years ago, but the PS5 version, which also, yes, includes those same accessibility features. So, I really don't plan on playing my PS4 version of Spider-Man really much anymore, because I really want to wait and get the PS5 version that'll A, look and play better, and B, have a lot more accessibility features that will be very helpful. So, yeah, I did try to look a couple places, but, just like everybody else, wasn't able to find a PlayStation 5. No idea when I'll get one, but I am looking, and if anyone knows of where I might be able to get one in stock, probably looking at the digital edition. I would be interested. So, because I can either sell my PS4, or I have a friend of mine who I might be able to make a deal with and get him some modern gaming. So, I have some options for my PlayStation 4 as well. So that's where we are on some of the modern console stuff. PC, I have no idea when that's going to happen or what exactly I'm going to do, but I've been doing a little bit of pricing, and this rig is going to be spendy, because I'm going to want to go with a lot, not just the video card, but I want to have more SSD storage, because I've, like I said, when I've done Watch Dogs Legion and Valhalla, yeah, the loading times on a regular hard drive are not good. You can kind of, you start the game, you say new game or continue. You may as well get up, use the bathroom, stretch, get a drink of water, maybe do some stretches. And then by the time you're done, the game might be loaded. Once you're in, it's okay. But, yeah, the load times, especially for gaming, and as big as games are nowadays, SSDs are becoming pretty important in that area. So, just to get the amount of storage that I need, SSD and even like a regular spinning hard drive for data and videos and stuff, it's going to add a few $100 to my build for the type of storage in that I want. I've almost considered getting some sort of one of those like storage tower things, and just like, oh, here's my hot swap of hard drive racks that I can, as I buy hard drives, I can just like swap them in and out, and like, oh, basically I have my SSD storage cartridges, and I don't know, it's just getting bad because games are so freaking big now. I'm hearing reports already, both on Xbox and PlayStation 5, that people are filling up their hard drive or their SSDs already, and it's launch. It's launch day, launch week, and people are already filling up their consoles because games are just ginormous. So yeah, kind of crazy in that area. I do also want to talk about a couple of Game Award type things coming up here in the next month or so, and that have just happened. On December 10th, Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards are going to be happening again. These have been going on for the past several years, and I think they've gotten better over the years, especially the last couple of years. There's a kind of a mixture of Game Awards and announcements. But the reason I bring that up is because they're adding a new category or categories this year in the area of game accessibility. And, like the Game Awards, don't like them, whatever your stance is on them, I think this is still huge, because this is a widely reviewed and widely recognized event in the industry. And if you are bringing attention to game accessibility in that arena, you're going to have game developers seeing it. You're going to have people in the industry, press seeing it. You're going to have fans. You're going to have developers. All of these different things you're going to see, and then they're going to see these accessibility awards and go, oh, this is actually becoming a thing. Maybe we have to start paying attention to it. So the more this sort of accessibility topic gets out there, the better we're going to be. And I do hope that accessibility is given its own little time slot during the Game Awards. Like in the past years, they have some awards that they give a little bit more screen time to, and then they have they have other awards where they just go, oh, and we have this category, and the nominees are blah 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 blah, and this game won, and then they're done with it within 30 seconds. Just because it is such a new and cool addition, and I think important. I mean, I know I'm biased, but it's such an important addition to gaming and the Game Awards in general that I hope it does get its own little spotlight time during the Game Awards. I'm definitely going to be watching. So that is on December 10th. A couple days ago, I believe it was Sunday night, there was also the first Game Accessibility Awards. I watched that Sunday evening. They had two hosts putting that on. They had Alana Pierce, which was the main host, and then Steven Spahn, head of Able Gamers. They kind of partnered together and they did this Game Accessibility Awards, and it was pretty neat. All the games that were covered and awarded or nominated were picked by people with disabilities. They mentioned in the beginning that it was the Able Gamers player panels. So you have this huge group of people with disabilities that are kind of making some of these nominations. I think I might have even filled out that survey at some point. I've done so many surveys lately this year that I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I did at some point. So they had their award show, and they originally had planned to have it in person, but just like everything else in 2020, that had changed, so it went to be virtual. And it being their first event and having to change into a virtual event, it had to change a bit. There were things that I definitely really liked about it, and there are definitely some things I really would love to see improved. So my thoughts on their Accessibility Awards show. I liked both personalities. I liked Alana Pierce. I liked Steve Spahn. Both of them seemed pretty cool. They had 10 accessibility categories. And what was interesting, I'm not going to go through them all, but what I thought was interesting, they didn't just say, oh, here's a good blind accessible game, here's a good deaf accessible game, here's a good mobility or cognitive. They didn't break it down into different types of abilities or disabilities. Instead, they focused on unique accessibility aspects or characteristics of a game that would help different types of people play. So being able to get in-game assistance, or being able to, there was one on text size. There was one on, oh God, I mean, I can't even remember all the categories, because they had really unique names for them. And that was one thing that I really kind of liked. I liked their approach to, not just doing the standard, oh, here's blind and deaf and yada yada. But instead taking a look at what kind of unique accessibility traits can games offer that might help a variety of different types of people, not just blind or mobility impaired or what have you. So that I did really like. They did do a little bit. They had a little bit of a kind of recognition for The Last of Us Part 2. I know you shouldn't, you shouldn't just really focus on that game. But I just, as accessible as that game is, I know there are still a few people that are still not quite able to play it. But as many accessibility features and as many types of accessibility that game was able to tackle, I mean, there's just this sort of honorable mention of you have to kind of at least really acknowledge that game, because I and so many other people were just blown away. And I think it really sets a good standard, or not really a standard, but a good starting point to shoot for. Every game's need, the thing you have to remember is you can't just be do it like The Last of Us. Every game's needs are different, because every bit of gameplay for these games are different. Some are action, some are strategy, some are puzzle, some are, whatever, a combination, open world, linear. So it just depends on what the game mechanics are and what type of accessibility features they need to basically make it playable. But I think that The Last of Us did such a great job. I mean, and the fact that for once a big, huge AAA game was actually playable by the blind, that's never happened before. We've had audio games. We've had, people play fighting games. But just a huge open, not purely open world, but big AAA game like this. I mean, it was stunning how well that worked. So a couple things that I didn't really care for, though, and I saw a couple of the other people mention this on Twitter as well. The way the award show worked is they announced the category, and then they panned it over to somebody else doing a pre-recorded video, which, again, this part I really liked, where they would cut to a video of somebody, mostly someone with a disability, that would introduce the topic and the nominees, and they would say, hey, this is the accessibility category, and this is why it's important to me as a person with X type of disability. This is how this type of accessibility feature is really helpful to me. And that was great. I think it was excellent to have people with disabilities actually represented, and for them to be able to kind of give their story or their reasoning as to, hey, this is why I have trouble with these types of interactions or gameplay mechanics or whatever. And this is how these games are helping me with that. And then they would show some just a couple short, sizzle reel clips of the nominees. And then it would cut back to Alana and Steve, and then they would kind of run down the nominees again and give the awards and then a little bit more information on that category. So I didn't really have a problem with that. But a couple things I would like to see, I think, done a little bit differently is, and this was a pretty informal show. It was kind of just like a live stream. It had an okay flow to it, but, again, this kind of being an awards show, you don't want it to be dry and stuffy and boring. Absolutely not. I've seen some of those shows and they suck. But I think they went a little bit too far in the other end, especially for something new like Game Accessibility Awards, because even before the show started, I was watching the, pre-show thing. They had the music going, and the chat was like, oh, what, people with disabilities play games, or they have cripple games, or what is this? Everyone would just be asking, what is this supposed to be? And so there's just a lot of people that were, I don't know if they were just being snarky or stupid, or I don't know, some people were genuinely like, what is this? And I think that you can definitely have humor, throw a little witty lines out there every now and again. But when they would come back and they would read the nominees again, they would do it in these goofy accents. A lot of times these foreign accents. Oh, we got a Russian one, a British one, Southern one, Australian. Which, okay, she can do accents, great. I don't necessarily have a problem if you want to do like an accent, but that should be kind of like, banter or some side material if you want to do that. But reading the actual nominees, I've seen a couple of people saying on Twitter, hey, I was not able to, I have a hearing impairment, or this, for whatever reason, I found this part of the show really hard to understand. Can you please put these nominees in text or something so I can know what they are? I couldn't understand you very well. And I think, again, if the mission of this is to not only recognize developers and games that have done well in the areas of accessibility, but you also want to bring more people in and interested in accessibility, when you're actually presenting when you're presenting the actual information of what you want to convey, that should be in more of a straight, more of a clear focus. You can have, you can do a little banter in between things. You can, joke around a little bit. You can do a little accents or whatever. But when you're actually talking, giving the nominees or the results, or when you are, talking about, oh, this is, I want to add a little bit more on why this type of accessibility is important, who it's for, how it helps. All that kind of stuff you should really do in kind of a clear, plain language way so that everybody can more easily understand. The other thing that I would love to see, I mentioned that when they would do the cutaway to the representatives, I love the fact that they had people with disabilities for the most part. They did have one or two people that weren't, I don't think had a disability, but there was, I believe it was Nolan North, I think, one of the major voice actors that are in tons and tons of games. I mean, it was kind of a funny little spiel, and it was cool to see him. But I really like the aspect of having people with disabilities be the ones that introduce these accessibility categories and how they're helpful. I really like that. And so I think they should have done that all the way through. But when they would then cut to these sizzle reels of like, oh, here's a clip from a trailer or a tiny bit of, it wasn't even really a lot of gameplay, but it was just like, here's a quick little sizzle reel that you would see in like a game trailer of each game. I think what would be really more helpful is to show, even if these clips were a little longer, maybe they were 30 seconds, minute tops. I would say 30 seconds probably, but somewhere in there. I think that showing some gameplay footage of that game as somebody is using that type of accessibility feature. So if they're trying to show something with captions, they show some nice large captions that show the character speaking. They show some visual indicators that they're getting attacked from off screen. They're showing, the background and the font of how clear these subtitles are. If they're showing a blind player, they're showing somebody, navigating the menus of a game and then, getting around in an environment like, oh, if you're in The Last of Us, you're navigating around and you are doing a stealth kill on an enemy, you're getting to an objective, you're using the high contrast, whatever it is you're using, whatever you're trying to show, don't just show like kind of generic sizzle reel cutscene. Show some of these accessibility features in action, both for developers and for the people who might be interested in seeing it. They can go, oh, that's pretty cool. Or even the people who know nothing about accessibility and are either ignorant to it or even mocking it to being, oh, that's really stupid, or disabled people don't play games. I still hear that from time to time, and it's sad. But, and maybe they do a short bit of that, but then, like I said, when Steven, they would cut back and they would read the winner of the category, and then Steve would be, oh, here's a little bit more information. And they would cut to like a website. They would quickly scroll up and down a website with some information on that. Maybe as he's talking, that's where you show a little bit more of the extended gameplay showing these accessibility features in action, because that's really what you want to convey, I would think. So, like I said, I'm not trying to pick apart the presentation. It was entertaining. I'm glad there's an actual, the coolest thing is that we have enough games out there, and there were games that weren't even, that I know that had accessibility features that weren't even mentioned in that stream. So the fact that we have so many games, yeah, maybe they're not perfect, but we have so many games out there right now that are starting to include accessibility that we can have a dedicated award show to that and still not even be able to tackle everything is awesome. It's great. It's fantastic. But yeah, so I just wanted to see a little bit more, a little bit more focus on the accessibility and the people and stuff like that, instead of some of the kind of jokey nonsense that happen. I mean, you can, like I said, you can definitely have some of that, but yeah. Anyway, definitely check that out. I did retweet it. You can check out that. I think it should be on Able Gamer's channel. I think it's on IGN. I think it's on a couple of other places I've seen it, but I've also retweeted it, so you can check out that Game Accessibility Awards, and they are going to be back next year, whether it's in person or online again. Who God only knows right now what it's going to be. Hopefully things might get back to normal if we get a vaccine out there by the end of next year, widely spread. We're hearing some good news about this 94% success rate for this vaccine they're working on, so who knows. But, I mean, 2020 being a dumpster fire in most aspects this year. Pandemic, racism, all kinds of other things. The election was just a god-awful nightmare. Everyone has their own personal stuff. I certainly did. Certainly did not see what happened there. Everything, all that stuff aside, the one area that has at least been there and really gave me sanity, kept me sane this year, and made me want to keep going, is all the things that are happening in technology and game accessibility. There's been a lot happening and a lot of positive things happening. So if we can get rid of some of this nasty stuff that's been going on this year, hopefully 2021 will get back to some normality, and if people will be responsible and, wear masks and not go to these large public gatherings and all this stuff, so we can, because I know a few people personally that have either tested positive or thought they might have COVID or have had COVID. So this is real. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. There's so many people getting it that kind of freaky. But yeah, hopefully 2021 will be better. Game accessibility stuff, like I said, has just been the one thing that's really kept me going. Work has been good. I'm super, super thankful that I have a job and that I can work from home. Very, very happy about that. But just having all this accessibility stuff keeping me busy has really kept me going in what has been an otherwise pretty craptacular year. I'm sure it's been that way for a lot of people. So I don't want to end on a downer, but like I said, that has been a bright spot. I think it's going to be better next year. I'm hoping, now that I'm involved with this XR Access group, I'm hoping that we're going to hear something soon about some kind of progress forward in VR accessibility. I've had definitely some more reservations about Oculus, aka Facebook, in recent months. They're mandatory forcing your Facebook account down your throat if you're using Oculus devices. If you get a new Oculus Quest or Quest 2, you have to use your Facebook account. When a lot of people are canceling their Facebook accounts or don't want to use their Facebook accounts, existing owners get a year or two before they have to switch over. I'm secretly hoping they get a brain in their head and go, well, maybe we shouldn't force this down your throat. Google Plus, anyone? Oh, really? What are you blabbing about? Okay. What in the heck? Some kind of calendar event. Hold on a minute. Oh. Right, my Low Vision Advisory Board. Boo, I was looking forward to that. My Low Vision Advisory Board meeting this month. Yeah, we're not having one of those. I love those Microsoft meetings. But yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. The Microsoft group, the XR Access, the game accessibility, getting these consulting gigs, and just that stuff has just really saved me this year. So anyway, I think that is pretty much where we are going to wrap it up this time. I know it's been a long video, but I've had a lot to talk about, a lot of things happening, a lot of things going to happen, a lot to look forward to on the channel. So again, thank you to everyone who has stuck with me or supported the channel and the streams. Definitely come by there. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. I do announce when I release new videos and go live on stream, and a bunch of other stuff there as well. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.